If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, Toys R Us was probably a staple during your childhood. You might even have the store's catchy jingle and slogan, "I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid," stuck in your head. In its prime, Toys R Us was the go-to toy retailer for kids and parents alike. Founded in 1957, the company grew steadily in the following decades, eventually becoming a household name. However, in recent years, Toys R Us has been on a decline, culminating in the company's liquidation and closure in 2018. But is this the end of the story? There are signs that Toys R Us may make a comeback in the near future. Here's a look at the company's history, the reason it failed, and what lies ahead. Toys R Us was a toy, baby, and clothing retail store founded in 1957 by Charles P. Lazarus in Rockville, Maryland. The company's trademark name, Toys R Us, is a stylized version of the phrase, "Toys are Us." In its early years, the company was known for its large, clean stores and its wide selection of toys. In 1948, Toys R Us founder Charles Lazarus saw an opportunity to capitalize on the post-war baby boom by selling baby furniture and other children's goods. He founded a baby furniture store called Children's Bargain Town that same year and sold it to Interstate Department Stores in 1966. Just over a decade later, in 1957, he started a separate company focused solely on toys, leading to the founding of the first Toys R Us store. Over the next few decades, Lazarus continued to grow his toy empire by negotiating contracts and selling toys at 20% to 50% lower than competitors. By 1978, Toys R Us had 72 stores and 5% of the entire US toy market share, ranking in $36 million that year. From 1978 to 1983, the number of Toys R Us stores more than doubled, reaching 169 stores and claiming 12.5% of the toy sales market share. The company also started selling children's clothing during this period. By 1990, Toys R Us was so dominant in the industry that other popular retailers such as Child World and Lionel were forced into bankruptcy, a fate that would eventually befall Toys R Us itself. Around the same time, Toys R Us was also branching out into other countries, including Japan and Europe. By 1996, they already had 55 toy stores in different nations, with Japan becoming their biggest market abroad. However, the late 1990s were also when Toys R Us began to experience its first challenges, including intense competition from other cheap retailers like Walmart and Kmart. They also lost a major court case to the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC charged Toys R Us with exploiting its marketing power to make big toy makers sell popular toys exclusively to them instead of other large retailers. This unfairness prevented any real competition and allowed Toys R Us to create a monopoly. While some people think that Amazon was the main reason for Toys R Us's demise, it actually began with lower-priced big box stores. Big box stores like Walmart, Kmart, Target, and Costco had already been established for years by the time Amazon came along. Some were even older than Toys R Us. But these retailers expanded rapidly in the 1990s and began offering lower prices on consumer goods, including toys. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, toy giants like Hasbro and Mattel began selling more toys through big box stores than they were through Toys R Us. This proliferation of other retail outlets was the beginning of the end for Toys R Us, as it gradually lost market share to its brick-and-mortar competition. However, what really put an end to Toys R Us was the increase in e-commerce toy sales, particularly those sold through Amazon. Toys R Us first attempted to break into the e-commerce market in 1998 but failed miserably, due in part to not being able to deliver gifts on time for Christmas 1999. To save face and remain competitive, they partnered with Amazon starting in 2000, meaning Toys R Us completely gave up selling via their own website. After Amazon allowed other toy retailers to sell on the site, Toys R Us sued and won in 2006. They were awarded $51 million, which was paid by Amazon in 2009. However, this did not stop Amazon from becoming the top toy retailer. Their low prices combined with perks like free shipping made them too good of a deal for customers to pass up. In 2017, during the holiday season, companies such as Amazon, Walmart, and Target were selling toys at extremely discounted rates. This ultimately led to the end of Toys R Us, since those other toy companies could make up for the losses they incurred from selling toys at a discount through their other merchandise. They could list items at prices that Toys R Us couldn't compete with. Toys R Us stated it was the perfect storm, and began shutting down operations shortly after. In fact, even before the perfect storm of 2017, Toys R Us had amassed $5 billion in debt and filed for bankruptcy before competition intensified during the holiday season. One of the main causes behind this debt was that, due to decreasing sales and profits, Toys R Us put itself up for sale in 2004 and was bought up by investment firms Vornado, KKR, and Bain Capital for $6.6 billion. Using billions of dollars of borrowed capital. Before the buyout, Toys R Us had $1.86 billion in debt. However, after the company was bought out, that number increased to a staggering $5 billion due to the capital borrowed for the purchase. The addition of such a massive debt left very little cash to reinvest into the business. This meant that customers who continued to shop at Toys R Us stores were met with poor merchandising, a lack of employees to help them, and just a general decline in the quality of the shopping experience. Many people took their business elsewhere as a result. All businesses need to evolve to survive, but because it was weighed down by so much debt, Toys R Us didn't have the funding necessary to keep changing and compete with other retailers today. Although it's not talked about as frequently, another reason for Toys R Us's demise was due to the overall decline in toy sales. With so much children's entertainment moving towards digital forms in the early 2000s, there wasn't the same customer demand for physical toys that existed at the end of the 90s. In the past, toy companies largely depended on holiday sales for their profit. However, as parents began to give their children video games and other electronics instead of toys at Christmas, this trend was reflected in the diminishing profitability of the toy industry, with many independent retailers closing down shop in that period. In 2018, Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy and announced plans to liquidate its assets. This process was completed by 2021, and all Toys R Us retail locations were closed. As part of the liquidation process, most of the company's assets were sold off. However, the Toys R Us brand was not among them. Although it has declared bankruptcy, there are still Toys R Us stores selling children's toys in countries around the world. The company sold its Canadian subsidiary and all related trademarks to Fairfax Financial in June 2018. As a result, Fairfax Financial continues to operate 81 stores under the Toys R Us name across Canada. Although Toys R Us went bankrupt and closed most of its stores in 2018, most of its stores are still standing across Asia. In November 2018, Toys R Us Asia sold its Asian operations to Fung Retailing, a Hong Kong-based partner that had been managing most of the company's Asian affairs up until that point. As of now, Fung operates 470 Toys R Us stores spread throughout various Asian markets, such as Japan, Brunei, China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand, the Philippines, and Macau. The company closed all stores in Australia by August 2018, but the brand returned to the country via a partnership with Hobby Warehouse. The company now has an e-commerce website that sells products to Australians. Apparently, Toys R Us is not down for the count just yet. The company is making a comeback with new launches in the US and UK markets after going through a major restructuring. After filing for bankruptcy, Toys R Us worked on developing new business models under the name of its new parent company, True Kids. In 2019, True Kids attempted to relaunch the Toys R Us website through a partnership with competitor Target. However, the deal fell through and True Kids was then left to partner with Amazon. Unfortunately, in early 2020, just as things were getting back on track, the COVID-19 pandemic hit, causing more devastating financial losses for Toys R Us. It wasn't until March of 2021 that brand management company WHP Global finally acquired the struggling brand. In August 2021, a partnership was announced between True Kids and Macy's that would allow Toys R Us to sell goods via Macy's website and their 400 in-store locations. As of August 2022, Toys R Us had opened locations inside different Macy's in 9 states. The company announced it planned to open in every Macy's by mid-October, right before the popular holiday shopping season. Announced in August 2021, Macy's and True Kids formed a partnership that would allow Toys R Us to sell merchandise via Macy's website, as well as their 400 retail locations. By August 2022, Toys R Us had opened shop inside different Macy's stores located in 9 states across the nation, and planned to open in every Macy's by mid-October, just in time for the holiday shopping season. Furthermore, Toys R Us brought back e-commerce sales for the UK in September 2022 with a cutting-edge website and more than 14,000 toys available for the next day delivery. It remains to be seen whether True Kids will be able to replicate the success of Toys R Us in its heyday. However, there are signs that the company is on the right track. With its relaunch under a new name in partnership with Macy's, True Kids is positioned to make a comeback in the toy market. Only time will tell if this is truly the beginning of a new era for Toys R Us, or if it will be relegated to history as just another casualty of changing times. Thank you for watching. Click like and share if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more videos like this one. See you in another video.